Oh, okay, so this was a specific one. So Dana, can you help with this?
How to answer question. كيف أجيب هذه الأسئلة؟ 6. match the word capital with the definition. أربط capital بتعريف. match the word attractions with the definition. نفس الفكرة. Miss Ashley, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So this was an exact question that I got asked today. So how do we answer this specific question? Now, I think this is quite helpful. So you're going to get an answer to your exact question, but we can also look at how we can use these questions here for answering tasks like this. So the first question, so let's look at number 6 here. Thank you for taking the picture, by the way, whoever sent this question in, is really helpful. So match the word capital with a definition. So when we're doing these sorts of tasks, we have the word on this side, but then we have to look over here in the reading to find out what the word is. Now, when I mentioned before about looking at context, looking at a sentence like here will give us an idea of what we need to look for. So we're looking for the word, match the word capital with a definition. So if this was me in an exam, I would look at this question and say, match the word capital. Now, what could capital be? Now, I know we use capital for a capital letter. Are there any questions here, or are there any answers that could be for that? So I look at the answers here. Nope, none of them are for capital letter. So it must be a different meaning. So the city where the government resides. Now, here, I might not know the meaning of resides. So that could be a question or an answer that I'm not sure about. So now I will look at the other answers to see if I can guess if they're wrong or if maybe they are the right ones before I try to work out the meaning of the first one. Now, at this point, so we're looking, is it the oldest city, the biggest city, or the most interesting city? So oldest, I know the meaning for this word, I know biggest, and I know most interesting. Now I will look across to the sentence. So the capital city, Lima, is on the coast to the west of the country. Okay. Now, does that sentence help me to answer this question? Now, in this particular way, it doesn't really help us because it's saying the oldest city, the biggest city, the most interesting, or the city where the government resides. So this is a little bit of a difficult one. So it doesn't tell me it's the oldest, the biggest, or the most interesting. So I think maybe the answer will be something different. And our capital will normally be, I think about my general knowledge. So for example, Riyadh. Okay, now I know that Riyadh is the biggest city in, not necessarily the biggest city, but it is a big city in Saudi Arabia. I know that that's where the government is. I don't know if it's the oldest city. It might be the most interesting city, but I know it's where the government is, and that's the capital. Now I think of another city, perhaps, say London. Okay, so is London the oldest city? It might be. Is it the biggest city? It is. Is it the most interesting city? Yes, but it's also the city where the government resides. So I've now found two things that match. So in Riyadh, it's where the government resides, and in London, it's where the government resides. So we work this answer out. We call it a process of elimination. We work this answer out by choosing which one the answer can't be. And sometimes we use it for the context in here, or sometimes it will be instead from our own general knowledge about what something could be. Okay, so number 7, let's have a look at this one and get rid of all of this writing here. So number 7, we have got match the word attractions with a definition. So again, we have to look over at the paragraph, so here, but first of all, we read the question. So match the word attractions with the definition. Famous places that you can't visit, beautiful places that are rarely visited, interesting places that people like to visit, and places which have been voted as beautiful. Let's look at over across here at the reading. Other attractions are Machu Picchu in the south, central Andes, and Lake Titicaca to the south. Okay, so we can read that. Now, other attractions are these places. Now, again, I can try to decide, are they things, is there anything in this sentence that will help me? Or are there any words or any places in the sentence that I know about? Now, I know that Machu Picchu is a very big tourist attraction. It's a place that lots of people in the world want to go and visit, have their pictures taken. It's supposed to be fantastic and amazing. So when I go back to my answers here, famous places that you can't visit, I don't think that's going to be the answer. Beautiful places that are rarely visited, again, I don't think that's the answer. Interesting places that people like to visit, that could be the answer. And places which have been voted as beautiful, could also be the answer. Now, let's have a look back and see if there's anything in the other sentences. So we'll read through all of this and have a look for any important information that might help. So at the bottom here, the very bottom sentence, whoops, which I've managed to cross out a little bit, the most important and beautiful places in the world. So that might help us with these two answers, because we've got interesting places that people like to visit, places which have been voted as beautiful. So I think the answer here is going to be interesting places, not places which have been voted as beautiful, because we've got both answers here. Okay. So that's if we come up with that question in an exam. Now, before we go into the exam, we can obviously practice trying to look at how we can learn the vocabulary. And one of the ways we can do that is by looking at a dictionary. Now, a really helpful dictionary online is the Cambridge Learners Dictionary. This is where this page is from for you. So we've got the word capital that we looked at before. Now underneath, we've got noun, which will tell us the part of speech that it is. We've got this little part here. As I told you before, you can press those and that will give you the pronunciation of the word. Now, one thing that's important to remember, so here we've got the UK and the US. Now, why do you think we have both of those? It's because of the accent, it's because it's different. So I sound very different to maybe lots of the actors and actresses on television who are from America. And it means that some of the pronunciation of different words will be completely different. So depending on what you're studying and why you're studying it, it's important to know the difference in those two pronunciations. Okay, after it here you can see you've got that funny language that I was talking about, which is called the phonemic script. You don't need to learn this, it's helpful for your pronunciation, but you don't need to learn it. But you can go through this and that can help you by looking at those symbols, and it will help you to learn how to pronounce something. Okay, now underneath we've got here the definition. The most important city in a country or state where the government is based. So if we go back to our answer or our question from before, that was the answer that we chose, so we were right. Here, it also gives you an example sentence, here and here, which are both very important ways because you can then see it in the context that it is written. Okay, let's have a look and see if we've got the meaning for attraction. So again, we've got the part of speech, the pronunciation, and how we say it in the phonemic script. We've got the basic definition, and then we've got something that's got a little bit more detail. Okay, so something that makes people come to a place or want to do a particular thing. Now, attraction also has another meaning, and attraction can also be a meaning about where it's an attraction that we have to perhaps a person or a thing, and it means that we find that thing, it's beautiful, we like them. Okay,